Hey, what's up? Ryan Bowles here, and I'm excited to welcome you to a brand new episode of Navigating the Hustle. And this episode is particularly cool because I've got a special guest on the show that I connected with about 12 months ago now when I was traveling through the US. And I was in LA one night having dinner with a friend of mine, Kenny Azama, and he took me out to an incredible, authentic Japanese restaurant and showed me okonomiyaki, and we had an awesome time. And as we were chatting, he said, dude, I've got to connect you with a friend of mine who's looking for business owners and entrepreneurs to have on his podcast. And now this was 12 months ago in early 2018. And I said, man, I'm totally down for that if it works out. And as I'm traveling through and he's got a spot open, let's make it happen. What's his name? And he looked me back and said, dude, his name's Matt Diavella. He's got a show called The Ground Up Show. And I was like, cool. I'd never heard of Matt, and I'm glad that I was there and Kenny introduced me via email, because Matt was like, dude, let's hang out, let's have a conversation. And that went on to become one of his episodes on the show. And ever since then, I've had countless people, and you might be one of them watching or listening to this, who have come to me and said, dude, I didn't know about you and what you do in the creative freelance business space. And I came from listening to the show with you and Matt, and thank you so much for all the value that you dropped. And so many people have come and said that was their favorite episode and so much more, which was super humbling and a huge honor. So in the last 12 months, Matt and I, as we've been chatting, and I said, dude, recently, I was like, dude, if I come back over to LA, let's hook up a time. I want to actually flip the spotlight onto you, because you're always the one asking the questions, and I think it's time for you to be in the hot seat and for your listeners to hear from you. And he was down for the idea, and so we hooked up and met up back at his house again, and instead of sitting across from the dining table like he usually does, we just had a bit of a casual fireside chat, and we got to talk about his upbringing, his come up, because he was in a lot of debt, how he got out of that, what propelled him on the journey that he's on now, with his show, The Ground Up, with Patreon and what he's doing there, and even some of the 30-day challenges that he has been diving into recently, and sort of the why behind what he does. So we talked about success and some of his favorite guests on the show and some of his biggest takeaways. Had a lot of fun. It's a super casual conversation with some really positive intent intertwined throughout all. So as you jump into the show, all I ask is that you, as my biggest request, would send Matt some love and tell him what you love the most about the show, and thank you for his time as well, because it's been an amazing journey, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the next 12 months does in his world and mine and yours as well. So sit back, enjoy the show, and as we transport over to his dining room, you'll hear us starting up a conversation really casually as Natalie comes home, and we have a lot of laughter before we start diving into some nitty-gritty stuff. So enjoy the show. I'll see you on the other side, and what else can I say but enjoy. Dude, so good to be hanging out again.
Thanks so much for coming back over.
Appreciate it. It's crazy. It's been 12 months. Time flies. This has honestly been on my, if there's a bucket list, but of people saying, dude, Matt Diavella, ground up for the last 12 months. And I'm like, we're going to make something happen.
Yeah, dude.
And so that post on Insta just the other day, it's not often you post other people all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't. So people were just like, dude, it's got to happen. So great to be in the space again.
Well, you came back to LA, so had to have a little chat while you were here.
The weather's a little bit different, but apart from that, I feel like we're the...
Told you.
We got
happened quick, too.
We got the cameo. Is it locked?
No, it's unlocked.
Welcome.
Hey, there she
Hi.
is.
Hey, Natalie.
Hey, Natalie.
Hi, how you going?
You didn't meet Ryan last time, did you?
No, we didn't.
I don't think so. Hi.
Natalie, good to meet you.
Oh, so nice to meet you.
Another Aussie.
Couple
I was
Aussie
just about
legends.
to say, I was
Yeah.
like, hi.
Jethro.
Hi, sorry.
Jethro.
Oh, hi. Jethro, excited
Great to have you on the show. Pull up a chair.
Wow. Any last words?
Sorry?
Any last words?
You're getting rid of me.
Yeah. Then we usually just kick her off and she hides in the bedroom for 30 minutes.
Yeah, I might do that actually. No. It's been a good day.
Cool.
Glad to be
Do
home.
you need anything from the kitchen? Glass of water?
Alright, I'll grab a glass of water.
Honestly, you're good to bounce in and out. We're casual.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that's okay. I'm like,
I mean,
So-
super different podcast. Matt's a big deal. I'm totally not. So
No, I don't know about
it's
that.
not a big deal.
Yeah, just ask Natalie.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
so good.
Yeah.
No, we're just hanging.
That's so
Oh,
funny.
cool. Are you guys in town, like, just for like a short trip, or do you guys live here?
Yeah, week here, Nashville for a conference, then back, and then
awesome.
home. Yeah,
That's
Gold,
so
Gold
cool.
Coast and Brisbane.
Oh, nice.
So-
Oh, awesome. Is this your first trip in the States?
No,
It's my third.
Third?
Oh,
Nice,
shit.
man.
Wow. Have you been to Nashville before?
no.
Oh my gosh.
We're looking forward to
That's
Nashville.
gonna be so much
You been to
fun.
Nashville?
No,
Okay.
I gotta do it.
Yeah, I went to a few of like the honky tonks there.
Yeah.
Really?
That's so much fun.
That's what my friend has recommended, just honky tonk.
Oh my god, and you have to go to a karaoke bar because you're like,
Cool.
holy shit, everyone here like has a, like, they're legit.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We've been listening to Casey Musgraves. She just won the
Okay.
Grammy for like best
Right.
album, and it was a country song, a country album.
Yeah.
So we've just been nonstop listening to it,
Cool.
just because we were
Yeah.
like curious.
And it's
We
good.
can do it.
Yeah.
We can do it.
I reckon country, it,
Yeah.
yeah, it works on you.
This is gonna hurt my street cred. This is not good.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, you don't have street cred.
My bad boy reputation.
Nice try. Yeah. It was nice meeting you guys.
So
Let's
cool.
get back to it.
See you in a few.
So you have to hide out.
Oh, fine.
Dude, so let's break it down to basics. From the questions people have fed me, I mean, I feel like people that know your story, but for those out there,
Mhm.
let's just take it back to Jersey. Take us
Jersey.
back, school days, how you came out as a creative, where things were for you there, and give us the...
Yeah. So basically, I found filmmaking when I was in high school. It was really the first thing I excelled at. I was a pretty C student. I got a lot of C's, a couple B's.
Me too.
The rare A.
Yeah.
But film and video was like the one place that you would have to pull me away from. So I would be working during lunch hours, during
Yeah.
work study hours, any free time I had off after school, I would be working on making videos. Kind of always trying to get a reaction out of somebody. So it was like sketch comedy videos early on. It was just trying to get people to be like, oh wow, how'd you do that? Like, or get them to laugh, or get them to maybe like ask a question about how I did something. And it just was fun for me, and it wasn't work. And then eventually through college, I was able to start to finally get some paid gigs
Yeah, cool.
and to start to become a freelance filmmaker.
How did that start about? First paid gig?
Yeah, the first paid gig is like, I think
Family?
it's the toughest.
Friends?
It was through somebody that I knew.
Yeah.
So it was, my sister had known somebody who worked in the music and entertainment industry, and he had this clothing brand he was working on. He was the marketing director for it.
Everyone's got a clothing brand.
Yeah, and then it was, I just followed him around for a day, and I got $100, and that I just remember taking a photo of the $100, sending it to my brother. It was a big moment for me. The first thing I did was just reinvest it into a pair of over-ear headphones, because
Nice.
before
To
that I was
plug
just
in.
using the buds. And from there on out, it was continuing to get very low-paying jobs, $100 here and there, but then just building up a little bit of a client base.
Yeah.
And it took a very long time, but it was always the love. Like film was
Right.
always the love.
Just always passion.
Yeah.
And what year are we talking? 2006 to 8? Or...
Yeah, so I graduated college. I graduated college in 2010. 2006 is when I graduated high school. So it
high
was,
school, yeah.
it was like,
Both of us, yeah.
yeah. So it was about like 2008 when I started to actually make a living doing it. It was my junior year of college.
And first camera? What was that thing you were lugging around?
So I started out actually with the Sony Handycam, which
Okay.
is just like the
Right.
camcorder.
With the strap?
Yeah, with a little strap
Yeah.
for your hand. Like I would just bring it on vacations with my friends down to the beach. Just be really embarrassing with it, and just make like
Home movies.
I want to say comedy videos, but they
Right.
weren't funny. But it was like me trying to be funny, and I even did like some parody rap videos
Yeah.
and stuff, and parody comedy videos.
Did you open up a YouTube account 2006? Like,
Yeah, I did.
as soon as...
Yeah, 2006, and that's
Yeah.
like around when YouTube started. I mean, 2005 or so, you had all these videos going viral. It was such a new thing.
Yeah.
Viral meant 1 million views. And
Dude, I thought viral was like, I remember it being 10,000.
Yeah.
I remember a guy saying, dude, this video's got 10,000.
Yeah. Dude, I did a parody rap video when I was in college early on, and I got sued for $7 million it was.
Right.
And then it was a clusterfuck to say the least. But we put it online. We ended up getting like 120,000 views.
Wow.
Which was like, for us, it was
2007.
crazy.
Seven.
Yeah, around then. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but then that was like the first time I ever, even though it was kind of a negative thing, although like in the entirety of that situation, it was pretty negative. I learned a lot about, that was the biggest stage I'd ever been on. And I was like, this is cool.
Right.
Like I can actually make an impact with film.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hopefully maybe the next time I do it, I won't be getting sued.
Dude, you mentioned that word impact.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to get to it a bit later. That's pretty
I
deep.
blew it.
Yeah, you blew it straight away. What's impact? What's making an impact for you as a filmmaker?
You know, I try not to think too much about that. It's nice. I mean, it's amazing to get a response from my videos, but oftentimes, I'm sure you've heard of it, like being in this peak state when you're working and you're just so absorbed with the story that you're telling and the challenges that you have to overcome when trying to tell this story.
Yeah.
No matter how simple or how silly the video might be that I'm trying to create, I'm usually not thinking about how's this going to be perceived. Like, what's the kind of impact? Am I going to change somebody's life with this video? I think that's just like a little bit too high and mighty, a little bit too grand.
Yeah.
I try to just say, let me tell the most compelling, engaging story I can. Let me also try to provide some advice and some things that I've learned.
And put it out there.
And put it out there, and then if it connects with a lot of people, that's awesome. If it doesn't, then that's just what it was meant to happen.
Was that connection started as soon as you picked up a camera and you were making funny videos, or was it still the passion that drove before you got the first connection?
I think what drives you is always the actual love of the thing that you're doing.
Right.
So if you're going to be a professional athlete, like you really at a major level have to love what you're doing every day.
Well, just ask me. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, right, like for your work, it's like you want to wake up every day and feel inspired and want to get to work. If the only thing that's driving you is the finish line and like the accolades and the pats on the back and the paycheck, then you're never going to stick through with it. And if you do, you're probably going to be miserable.
Yeah. Surrounded by no one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so college, one question I've been asked quite a lot is you ended up with a lot of debt.
Yeah.
In a few different ways. 97K of debt and a car.
And a brand new car.
The best purchase you've ever made.
Yeah, that Kia Forte Coupe.
Is that what it was?
Coupe with a K, a 2010. It was a good car though. I mean, I took, brought that thing to the ground and I ended up giving it to my sister for a few bucks. And so it's still running.
Is it?
Yeah, it's still got some life in it. I mean, it hasn't been that long. It's been about 9 years, but like...
Putting out huge emissions.
Yeah, exactly. Horrible for the environment.
Yeah.
I'm a minimalist. I'm not an environmentalist.
Right.
But basically, I made a couple bad mistakes. And I think the first thing I did was just to release the guilt that I had.
Do you reckon racking up that debt in college was a bad mistake?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty bad because I think that there's other options that I could have had, but I wanted the college experience.
And did that flow down from parents or a family history?
No, because my parents were strongly against me going straight into 4-year school because there's other options like community college.
I feel like that's the minority of a family.
But community college is still college,
right?
And but also I come from like a middle class family with not a lot of money.
Yeah.
So. If you go away to school and if you don't have any scholarships, you're going to be likely paying anywhere from $60,000 to $100,000 over 4 years, which is a crazy amount of money. And my mom was very stern in saying, like, I think you should go to Raritan Valley Community College, which was like near our neighborhood. You can go there for a couple of years, save tens of thousands of dollars. But me being rebellious and wanting that college experience that I was sold to and like all the TV shows and movies, I wanted the experience of going away. It's a very difficult thing to do because all my friends are going away to college.
Right.
Everybody's having that experience. And you feel like a complete loser. You're still swept up in that high school mentality of like the cliques and like wanting to appear cool and going to a cool college and going to frat parties and all this stuff. But if I could go back, I would have done it differently. I would have done community college and probably taken my debt payments in half, which would have helped me out a lot.
I think that's big for people listening now going through that stage. But I didn't realize that Americans were sold to the American dream of that college fraternity lifestyle.
Yeah, it's different in Australia.
No, I mean, yeah, we get the image from movies,
Yeah.
and we feel like that's the way, but I didn't know that still was sold over here. I thought that that's just the way it was.
Yeah, I think that obviously the movies and stuff play a part, but I think that the peer pressure
Right.
is
Yeah.
probably much stronger than anything
Everyone's
else.
gone.
Yeah, so you feel like you have to go. And I think that now there's just so many other alternative ways to get an education. And I think a degree is obviously still powerful. It's still, if you look at like the facts and the economics of it, people who get a college degree do end up making more money in the long run. So I wouldn't discount that. But I would say that if you could do some kind of work study program, if you could do a community college for a couple of years, if you could find scholarships or go to a local school. There's a lot of different ways to do it. And the one thing was that the best way to learn is outside of school. You can't wait for that course syllabus, your college syllabus, to tell you what you need to learn. You need to teach the stuff to yourself. So if you want to be a filmmaker, best thing you can do,
film,
grab a camera and start making stuff.
And edit. Not just film.
Yeah, I think editing actually is like the hidden skill that a lot of people discount, and that's going to be the way that you're going to separate yourself from anybody. Same thing with writing. Like if you're, it's the editing process of making, getting that 140 characters that's really interesting. That's not easy.
We were talking about this today with our Uber driver. He's got, what did he have? He was an English major. And he's like, yeah, I just need to get, he said, I think I'm thinking too traditional. And I was like, dude, copywriting is not only like fun if you enjoy the art of language, but you can make some great, you can make some great projects out of it, work with some fantastic people. Yeah. We started having this discussion. He's like, man, I said, dude, get a Facebook account. Yeah. Just start writing some long form posts and experimenting with the art of English, the art of words. Yeah. And he's like, I've never thought about it that way. And maybe that's part of the system of just, going through and doing it the way it is. Yeah. So finishing up with that sort of debt in hand, where did you turn from there? Were you already banking a few jobs at that stage by end of college?
Yeah, but I wasn't making a lot of money. Sure. So I had like this one project with, it wasn't Reebok, it was Converse, and it was every other month I'd make $400, and that was like a big gig for me. Yeah. I was like, it was solid. It was like a day's work. I made $400. It's probably the best like day rate I had at the time. And then I started to dabble into weddings, and at this point I'm like trying to live in Philly with my sister at the time, and I just...
Is that a tough thing to do?
Yeah, I couldn't afford rent. I mean, I probably could have, but it was the fact that within 6 months, that's when I had to start paying off my student loans. And I couldn't pay off rent and student loans together. And I also didn't have a car at the time. Right. That's when I bought the Kia. Yeah. But I needed to have a car to be able to get around to these projects. Yeah. And, I started to do weddings, and I'd have to go between New Jersey and Pennsylvania and between states. And it was a lot of time. So basically, I just decided to move home with my parents, which was one of the smartest decisions I made, to move home for 2 years to get my business off the ground. I think that was a conservative amount of time. Yeah. My parents definitely were like, you could stay longer. And I'm like, it's not going to stay here forever.
Here's a home cooked meal.
Yeah, exactly. And it was great, but, like anybody, you can only stay at home for so long before it just gets a drag on you.
And so what's the turning point for you where you're like, all right, I need to make... Obviously, you've got that pressure financially over here, but what's the turn in business for you?
So I got a retained client, which was huge. To have a reoccurring client pay me every single month.
Was that mind-blowing?
Videos. Yeah, and I don't know if... I think in the beginning, I knew the stakes were very high. I knew this would be an amazing client to get. Yeah. And a lot of people think that if you want to increase your income, what you have to do is get new clients, more clients. Yeah. But the best thing you could do is to actually get more money from your current clients. Sure. So that's what I learned from that. And it was this amazing client called Vidler. They actually were like a YouTube competitor early on, a video hosting platform. And I just made videos for them every month, and they helped me to pay my rent off, and they helped me to say no to projects. Because now that I had this steady income and this steady client, I could then say no to the projects that didn't have any money, didn't have a budget. You're $400. Oh, sorry, it's not going to work out. But I know that a lot of creatives and filmmakers who are forced into projects because they don't have any money, no clients, no retainers, nothing. Take it. Yeah, so they take everything they can get, and then they're stuck in this place of only getting $300 to $400 projects.
I think there's a lot of power in learning to say no.
Yeah.
Every no enables a bigger yes, right?
Yeah, and it's scary, and there's a risk in that. There's always a
risk,
and because you're always going to be hopefully scaling up a little bit, and then you go from that $200 to $2,000 to $20,000.
Yeah.
And as you move up, it's very hard to say no to a $10,000 project,
Yeah.
or to send somebody a proposal that's, hey, this video or this project's gonna cost $50,000, and like
Yeah.
you can be nervous, you can be nerve-wracking to do that because you're not really sure if they're gonna say yes to it. You're like, well, I could do it for 10, but then you start to shortchange yourself.
Sure.
And
So
then
how
you're
does
working harder.
someone put that, the confident foot forward?
Well, the one thing I would say, practically never tell a price over the phone. So if somebody says, so what's your budget for this project?
Hey, Matt,
Yeah. Hey, so that's great question.
what's this going to cost?
Yeah, so I would first ask you how much, like, what do you need to get out of the project?
Sure.
What are your deadlines? What kind of videos do you want to make? All that stuff. Great. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to run the numbers, and I'm going to figure out exactly what it's going to take to make this video amazing. And you know what? I'll even give you 3 different options, so that way we can do a really simple tier. We can give you something that's kind of middle of the road. And then if you got the budget for it, obviously we can go really high end. We can do like all out on this film.
I've got the budget. Let's just...
So then basically that's an amazing way to not really have to worry about, am I going to lose this client? Because you could end up just doing a few hours of work and still getting a decent amount of money from it. But then also you're not telling them the price over the phone. I'm not a very confident person, like I'm confident enough, but over the phone, I know that I would give away some of my weakness. I would give a tell. Like, well, it's going to be 20, but if you can do it, then... Yeah. And so if I just send them a document, it's there, it's in writing, it's concrete, it's got all the confidence I need, and then I just
after you've done all the groundwork.
Yeah, and then but I think it's also just practical, like, you do have to really think it through, and you do have to make sure that, okay, well, if I'm going to rent gear, or if I need to add, okay, it's going to be 5 different songs I need to license for this.
Yeah.
It only makes sense to give yourself some space and time. And also I don't like saying yes to projects right away too. Okay. If a client was even ready and knew the budget, I would say, okay, give me, until tomorrow, I'll let you know how we think about it. Because sometimes we are excited about something in the moment, we want to say yes, but what happens? A lot of times we keep saying yes, the more success we get, and then we realize that we're stretching ourselves too thin. We're taking on too many projects, and we're overwhelmed and stressed. And we need to make sure that we're saying yes to the right things.
Saying yes to the right things, has that been something recently that has been bouncing around, or the last few months? Has this got anything to do with taking a break from certain things to allow freedom in different areas? Socials, sugar, hot showers?
That's a really good point. I think that those things are part of this entire year experiment of doing different challenges.
Okay. So when did this kick off? Why?
Yeah, so at the beginning of the year, I decided to do, I did a video called 12 Habits for Life, and it was based upon a video I made about waking up early, where I was just saying how everybody wants to try to change everything about their life in a day. And I mean, I'm no different. I would listen to a Tony Robbins audio tape, and I'm like, all right, I'm ready. Like, everything's going to change right now. But when I gave myself just one thing to do at a time, when I said, okay, this month I'm going to focus on waking up early. And imagine if you did that every month.
Consecutively.
And then the next month you built a different habit. And the next month you built a different habit. Over the course of 12 months, over the course of a year, you'll have a totally different life. And if you're able to make those habits stick, or a majority of them stick, that's more than most people can say. Because most people are doing the New Year's resolutions, and they can't stick to one thing.
Fading out.
Yeah. So I think it's just that if we have this one focus, and we dedicate ourselves to it, we can build it up over time.
I like that. I think that's pretty fast to be doing month on month. From everything I've ever done, it's always been like a year, add on one new habit. Yeah. Were you a year-long habit builder until the 12th month?
No, and this thing is, for me at least, is more of, I think in concept it makes a lot of sense. That's kind of almost a theory, and now I'm actually putting it to the test. Yeah. It's like, how would this actually work?
So how's it going?
But it's also, I mean, now we're in February. Like, I've done this, I'm in the middle of my second one, so I did no sugar and then cold showers for 30 days.
So where did socials come in?
In terms of like promoting it and stuff?
Yeah, you were just off. Things were posted.
Yeah, so like I wanted a way to just let people know that I was gonna be doing these things. Right. So like I'll post like a little alert on like Instagram, Twitter, and on my newsletter just to let people know that I'm doing it. And hey, if you want to do it too, you can join me. Yeah. The thing about what I'm doing, and in the original video I made about 12 habits for life, I was like, the things that I'm going to be doing this year, you might not want to do. 30 days of cold showers is probably not going to be something I'm going to help stick through with my whole life. But it's a fun, weird experiment. I think that there's a lot of things that you can learn from it, and ways that like you're pushing yourself. out of your comfort zone.
Especially on some of these 32 days.
Yeah, dude, exactly.
Fahrenheit.
Yeah, so it's for me, it was more about like, hey, these are kind of crazy challenges.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to
sustain
to sustain these in the long run, or if I will want to.
Yeah.
But the only way to find out is if it's going to, like, if meditation, for instance, that's going to be what I'm doing soon. I've meditated quite a bit. I've never done it for 30 days straight, and I'm planning on doing it for an hour every day for 30 days.
So not everything is refraining.
Yeah.
Some things are putting on.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of like balancing between that and doing like 1 month is adding something, 1 month is taking something away. So maybe I'll be taking away caffeine.
Yeah.
I was wondering. Cold showers. Yeah, I'm going to take away caffeine for 30 days. It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Because I'm an avid coffee drinker.
I'm surprised you don't have one right now.
Yeah, I know. It's a little bit late. We're like 5 p.m. now. Okay. So I try to like,
Is that 3 p.m.?
Yeah, it's around 3. I usually don't. It won't affect me that much.
Aussies do the same thing. It's 3 p.m.
Yeah, because it's kind of like a mindset thing too. Like you have coffee because it kind of fuels your work. Yeah. Not literally all the time, but it's just kind of like a mindset thing. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
And dude, so there's been a few things going on. Big year last year.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you and Natalie.
Thank you.
That's amazing. First of all, you've had Patreon. That's been a whole change to your world as well.
Yeah.
Tell us the transition there, why, how it's been going, and about some of your Patreons in the room right now, maybe.
Yeah. My man over here.
We got Jethro behind the camera.
Yeah, crazy. He's been like one of the longest patrons.
That's right.
Pretty incredible. Patreon was started because I create all my content ad-free.
Amazing.
It was, I when I started this thing, a lot of the ideas that I have are just about trying to be more thoughtful about advertising. I don't think all advertising is evil or bad, and all my friends that are content creators online advertise. Sure. There's not many people who don't. But in the beginning, I didn't need to because nobody was following my stuff anyway. So I was like, well, I'm not going to put ads on for now. Let me see if I can actually get by without ads. Let me see if I can actually build up. And Patreon is obviously an amazing way to build a community of people who are willing to pay for additional content from you. Yeah. And so, right around the time that my audience grew, I had put that into effect and I started creating behind the scenes videos.
Was it a no-brainer?
No. No, because there's actually plenty of audio and there's plenty of video of me out there being like, Patreon, I don't know. I don't think I want to do Patreon because I don't like asking for money. Sure. Nobody likes asking for money, but you need to make money. If you want to continue to do this thing, if you want to be able to make a living, and like I've been a business owner my entire life. I've never had a regular job. Yeah. So I knew that I had to monetize and make money somehow, and this was the quickest, most effective way I could do it. Got it. And really, a lot of people use Patreon as a way to like, hey, they don't give the best content away, but my idea was like, hey, can I make premium content? Can I make this feel more like a membership platform? And that's something that I'm trying to do, and that's something that helped me to make it something that I actually pulled the trigger on.
Yeah, super cool. I think that's, the time we're moving into, aside from school, you don't get that community that you do online these days with people all around the world with the similar beliefs, interests. And so I'm a big believer in membership side of things. People in a private community get to know each other. Do you get to know your Patreons?
A little bit. The community thing is, community building is hard, period. Sure. Like, I do see the regular people that will comment on things and, like, will often be in the comment section on Patreon or AMAs. And then I see them and recognize their, if, like, everybody has the same profile photo, I'll recognize them outside of it. So you don't really get to know people. I think anytime you have an audience and then the community or like the person who's creating content for it, it's more of a talking to. Sure. I mean, there is obviously you're answering people's questions and you're getting to know them a little bit, but the microphone's kind of pointed one way, and I think that's just the nature of creating content.
And then there's these small interactions that happen around the place, which is cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Where are you taking it next?
So Patreon is so I'm switching up a couple things, but the one thing is I'm doing more interviews on my YouTube channel. I'm like trying to drive it more to be more documentary style, more sit downs with experts and people who can help me explore the kind of lifestyle type questions that I'm asking. Yeah. So it's not just me. Sure. It's like, hey, here's an expert person that
pull that out.
Like meditates as a monk.
Yeah.
And then, okay, let's interview him, and then we can have this whole discussion about meditation and its benefits.
Does that mean there's a monk coming up?
No, I don't know why I promised that.
That was pretty cool.
But I tried to get Sam Harris, but he's busy.
Right.
But I'm hopefully can fill that spot. But I mean, even with the no sugar one, I had my friend Becca Shern come on, who runs a site called Minimal Wellness, and she talks about she's a registered dietitian and nutritionist, and so she was able to give me a perspective and teach me something that I didn't know, because my whole thing is I don't want to be seen as an expert in everything. I want to be seen as an experimenter. I want to be trying to like challenge myself and learn and bring my audience along with me as I learn something new.
I like that. We've been talking about some experimenters out there.
Yeah.
It's a cool way because, I mean, some people don't have confidence, boldness to try something new, to put themselves out there. So if you're doing it, I mean, hey, I'm on board for you to bungee jump or...
Yeah, and I'm, you know what I mean? This is not something that I invented. Like Tim Ferriss was kind of like the pioneer of the human guinea pig, like doing testing, experimenting, human optimization, all that stuff. So he's definitely a huge inspiration for me.
What's the relationship like with Tim?
Oh, what do you mean?
You and Tim.
I don't know Tim.
Oh, we got to make that happen.
Yeah, no,
Let's get him here.
Yeah, that would be nice, but we'll see. I have 2 degrees of separation to Tim, and I don't think that those will close anytime soon.
Sure. What about somebody else that we're familiar with? Dwayne, the Rock Johnson.
The man, there he is.
He's up there.
Yeah, he's not coming down.
He hasn't moved.
Yeah.
He hasn't moved.
So The Rock, I got 2 tweets from him last year. I mean, I
remember those.
As you know, I have a website called GetTheRockOnMatt'sPodcast.com.
GetTheRockOnMatt'sPodcast.com.
Yeah, hashtag #GetTheRockOnMatt'sPodcast.
Let's do it.
It's a pretty big thing. It's not a big thing. It's just like
it's totally a big thing.
Yeah, so I started the podcast 2 years ago, and I thought to myself, what would be the most difficult person to get on the podcast that might actually come on? Like, there's certain people, like, you're not going to get Tom Cruise on. He doesn't do interviews. Like, he's impossible to, connect with. But I was like, Dwayne The Rock Johnson just seems like the kind of guy that would come on the show.
Yeah. What did he have? $5 to his name? $5 in his pocket? $7?
Yeah. That's the name of his...
£7?
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's $7. That's the name of his production company, $7 Entertainment. So, and he's just a guy that continues to put in the work.
Yeah.
Like, most people would be like, you're done, Dwayne. You can stop. Like, we've you've put in enough work. You can relax now. But he obviously is fulfilled by the movement, by the journey. So I think that's something that's super inspiring. And I just think it would be funny to have him on.
It's a wild like goose chase, right?
Yeah.
What's the closest you've been? You got the tweets?
I got 2 tweets. I mean, I had his friend Brian Bowen Smith, who's a celebrity photographer. Right. He came on the podcast, and then he also I think he Instagram messaged him for me. Right. But those were the closest I got were like the DMs, or not the DMs, the actual tweets that I got back, where I actually used the website domain. Right. And I'm like, so he saw it. I'm pretty sure he saw it and knows of it. Yeah. And I think now it's just a matter of time. And like, dude, I'll have
matter of time.
Because I have a tweet button on the site, so people can go there, GetTheRockOnMatt'sPodcast.com, and then they can click the button, and it auto generates a new tweet at The Rock. So The Rock just gets tweeted at all the time from people.
So good.
So he must just see it, unless he put a spam filter or block on the hashtag. He will see it every once in a while.
I like that.
Yeah.
Dude, it's so cool.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's just like it's also I'm not taking this too seriously.
No, I was going to ask,
it's more for fun.
Is that in the backseat constantly? I mean, was there a time where it was super hard?
Yeah, there was a time where I definitely went harder on it in the past, but then I had to balance it on the podcast, and I didn't want to be annoying with it. Yeah. Like, I now really only mention it if there's an update. I did a jingle competition.
Yeah, we're going to ask, people still sending through jingles?
No. The jingle competition is closed.
Okay. Yeah.
We got like dozens of submissions, and I actually was able to get a trophy and hand deliver it to the winner in London, which was pretty cool. He made a really awesome jingle, Sam Tier. And so every time I mention The Rock on the podcast, I bring the jingle back for it. Yeah, but cool. It's a whole lot of fun.
Maybe you'll need to send it over. We'll put the jingle in.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Dude, switching gears, how does someone get started?
What are you trying to get started with?
Man, if they want to start a freelance business, if they're going to grab a camera, do a thing.
I think that's it's actually good to even differentiate what you're trying to start.
Sure.
And I think
let's go with your field of play.
Yeah, well, what I would say too is a lot of people want to be YouTubers, and a lot of people want to make a living building an audience.
You didn't start that way.
Exactly. And I think it's much more difficult to do than to build a freelance business. Building a freelance business, in order to grow an audience, you need to get good first.
Yeah.
You need to actually put in the time and the hours.
Hone in on the craft.
Yeah, but like you there's a certain skill level that you need for freelance work. And if somebody's paying you $100 for a video, they're not hiring the best in the world. So that leaves people to be able to get into the door pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I would say if you're trying to be a filmmaker or a professional, like anything, I would try to actually do freelance first before building an audience. Me personally. I know some people took the alternate route.
Yep.
I know some people that started and made documentaries before they ever became filmmakers. Like their first thing ever was a feature-length documentary, and it got picked up by Netflix. And like this is Zach and Chris from Living on $1. They made a documentary going down to, I think it was Central America, to live on $1 a day for 30 days.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was an amazing documentary, but they kind of prove, they're the exception, I think, to the rule, where I think it's better to actually build up your experience, work on a bunch of short projects, hopefully build up some clients. The hardest thing is going to be to get work in the beginning. But if you build up your skills and you're just focusing on getting really good, there's going to be a certain skill level you reach where people can't ignore you. And eventually it's going to be easier and easier to book gigs.
And that's filming anything and anyone to build that skill?
Yeah, so like, dude, I did weddings, dozens and dozens of weddings. I did bar mitzvah intro videos. I worked like local TV commercials.
Any funerals?
No,
Yeah, I've got a friend back home who films a lot of funerals, and
I have a buddy who filmed a funeral. He filmed his I think it was his grandparents' funeral.
It's better business than weddings.
Yeah. My buddy did it though because it was to remote cast it to somebody who couldn't be there. It's a weird thing though.
Yeah,
it's a weird thing, but some people they want it.
How's this? He was there to film a recent funeral. He's in his 80s. He's got his OBE, over bloody 80, that's what we call it. And filming the funeral, and the director didn't turn up, so he had to go from like videographer to the director of the funeral and stand up the front while he's recording himself direct a funeral that he has no idea about.
You're joking.
Or the person just reading off the script.
Oh no.
So sometimes things don't go as planned.
Yeah, no, that's rough, man. But you know what? Like weird things like that happen. I feel like that's just a funny, interesting story. And like the more you put yourself out there, the more you do things that you're uncomfortable with, the better you'll get. Like doing weddings is high stakes and it's nerve wracking. And like there's a lot that you have to do.
It's a lot riding on it.
Yeah, like dude, there are hundreds of things you have to do in that day.
Sure.
From working with your clients, which are the bride and groom, which is like obviously a very stressful day for them. Like knowing how to talk with them, knowing when to not say anything and just stand back.
In-laws and
yeah, and you have to balance all of this while capturing everything and while thinking about, okay, then when I bring this into the edit, I'm going to want to make sure I have this B-roll for this establishing shot. You learn so much from it that will help apply to future projects. So even if you're not that passionate about weddings right now, pay the bills, and then eventually you can move into things that you're more interested in.
I know I just much prefer go to weddings than film them.
Oh, 100%, dude. I love going to weddings now, but I will not film a wedding anymore.
So what about going from like an hourly rate? Is it value-based? Like, where did you move in that sphere?
That's a great question. I strongly recommend people don't do hourly rates. I started out doing hourly.
You reckon that's a natural progression? You just go,
No, I think that you could actually just start out going straight into project rates. Right. There were certain times when I would charge hourly. If it's usually I would charge a project fee and then additional changes after 2 versions will be charged at an hourly rate, just because it's an easier way to do it, and you do have to give them some amount of friction that they wouldn't want to do 10 revisions. Nice. So that to me just helps. You know what I mean? Like $100, $200, and sometimes actually like if it's a 3rd or 4th revision, I'll just waive the fee.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that's part of it too, is some people get too strict and too by the book. Like, these are the rules that I made, and we need to follow through them to a T. Yeah. You know what?
And that flows across graphic design, anything. You can play it by that project fee, hourly, changes.
Add-ons.
Yeah,
and I think that's actually the best way to do it. And the hourly rate is a trap because the better you get, the quicker you get.
Right.
And I once told somebody my hourly rate for editing videos was a couple $100 because he really, really, really wanted to know my hourly rate. And I was like, all right, like $250 an hour. And he's like, I have never heard of a rate that high in my life. I would never work with you. And I'm like,
exactly.
Then don't work with me. Cool. Yeah. But because it would have only taken me 3 hours to do the video. So if I told him like, hey, project rate's going to be like $750, he would have been like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So the better you get, the quicker you get.
Yeah.
And people sometimes can't stomach a high hourly rate.
Yeah.
All they should really care about, though, is the finished project.
That's the result.
And I think sometimes they would prefer to know, okay, this is the budget. It's not going to go over this.
Right.
If it's an hourly rate of even $50 an hour,
Yeah.
who knows? Somebody might come back and be like, yeah, so I work 300 hours. And you're like, what?
You didn't tell me about
Yeah,
it.
I had to remortgage my house.
And what about that objection? Sorry, that's way out of my budget.
Okay.
Done.
Yeah.
Next.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool.
I mean, if it's out of your budget, then that's great. It's sorry, it's out of your budget.
Cool.
Then sometimes you can really get a good vibe. Sometimes what I'll actually do, I can tell sometimes. I mean, I don't do freelance work anymore.
No.
But when I did, I would get an email that would come in, and you can just sense it from that intro email. You're like, they've got no money.
Yeah.
You can just tell the way they're like, is this something you'd be interested
Eventually,
in
you
doing?
just stop replying, or you've got an autoresponder, or
Yeah. So I will actually reply to them and say, like, thanks so much for your interest. And then I would give them a ballpark. I'll be like, actually, so typically our project rates start at around $15,000. If that's cool with you, then I would love to hop on the phone and chat.
Just chat it out.
And that way you just add a little filter there.
That's nice.
Because you can't hop on all these phone calls that this person
It's
doesn't
going
have
to go
money.
for an hour.
I'd rather scare the person
Yeah.
away right away,
Yeah.
and then you're on to the
And
next
that's fair for them.
Yeah,
Totally.
absolutely. I think
Yeah.
it's fair for everybody.
Yeah.
It's just being transparent and
100%.
open up front.
Yeah. Super cool. Do we want to talk through some of the changes on the ground up? I mean, we're sort of looping around here a little bit. But,
Yeah.
I'm just watching time, and ground up sort of was one that we got to jam out on a whole bunch, and it's been changing a little bit. And
Yeah, so I recently, I haven't announced it yet. I don't know when this is coming out, but it'll be like next week.
we can play around with it.
It's not even a big.
Wait, I've got a few podcasts lined up.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah.
good.
It's not even a big deal because it's just a break.
Sure.
But since I started the podcast, and really since I started consistently going every week, I only took 1 week off, which was at the end of
That's
last year.
big. Knowing behind the scenes, that's
Yeah, just nonstop, and I filmed every single episode. I'm about to land on 100 episodes.
wow.
So
Is there something big planned for 100?
Not really that big. I'm just doing. I'm just having people send me in some audio clips,
Cool.
like people who listen to the show,
Yeah.
people who want to maybe
That's
something
awesome.
they've learned, or maybe a question they have for me.
Yeah.
They can send it in, and I'm just gonna have a glass of whiskey and kind
I like that.
of drink and just have
Yeah.
because I started the podcast by myself in my apartment, so I kind of wanted to go episode 100 by myself,
Nice.
and so that's just gonna be fun. But then after that, I've decided to take 4 weeks off,
Okay.
at least 4 weeks off.
Which
I
isn't much of a break.
It's not a huge break, but
No.
I do want to take a month to just
Right.
sit back and actually be able to understand where I want to take it. And I have right now a general idea of where I want to go with it. I think I want to stop doing video for now, just because of the massive time investment that it takes versus the return that I'm getting on it.
Sure.
It just doesn't seem as worth it.
Yeah.
And as where the first 100 episodes were all about meeting new people, I want the next 100 to be about connecting with people that I'm already friends with and that I
Nice.
know.
Yeah.
And I think I want to actually tie it more tightly to the videos I'm making on YouTube. So it's more self-development related,
Yeah.
where I cover a topic on the YouTube channel, and then that next day I hop on a podcast with a friend to talk about
Jamming
that
that
topic.
out. Got it.
That way, that we can talk about community. That's just
Yeah.
a way to bring in the comments into the podcast, to
Very
create more
cool.
of a discussion there.
I like that.
Maybe get a top comment, like the funniest thing
Yeah.
somebody said in the comment section. Maybe somebody making fun of me. Then we can bring it up on the show. I think it's going to make it much more loose, especially being no video, much more conversational. That's just my current idea. I've already had a couple weeks off because I've kind of taken. I record my episodes way out in advance.
Yeah.
So it's like the more time you get from it, the more space you get from it, the more you can actually understand where you want to take it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get so absorbed in the daily
Feels
grind.
like a big ship. What you're explaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely a big shift in terms of it's difficult because you do something one way
Yeah.
and you feel like it can never change. This is
Totally.
the way, like especially if something's doing well,
Yeah.
like the podcast is doing well. So to change it and to change the format is a tough thing to do, but that's what we're doing all the time. We're
Yeah.
always changing,
Yeah.
adapting, evolving, understanding the market from today
Yeah.
is completely different from what
From
it
when
was
you
10
started.
years
Or
ago.
when you
Yeah,
started.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like shit. So you have to constantly change
Uh-huh.
and I think experiment.
That's
and
cool.
I think if you make a mistake,
Yeah.
cool. Then
Yeah.
learn from it and move on to the next thing.
Who's been your favorite guest so far?
You.
That's
that's not a fair question. That's
that
not
was
a fair
not-
question.
That's obviously not me, but that was not a loaded question. But like, have you got a favorite?
No.
What if I
It's
flip
hard.
it? Biggest learning that you've had in a discussion on the podcast? What's a takeaway that you've implemented and thought,
No, no, I don't. It's a good question. The biggest learning.
Biggest takeaway that you've gone.
I think it's amazing. It happens a few times here and there, and it has nothing to do with as much the person as the conversation we have, and it just gets me to think about things differently. I do remember stepping away from David Sherry's podcast, who's now a good friend, where we were talking about just slow. He made this company called Death to Stock,
right,
where it was just kind of flipping stock and video and photo on its head when it first came out, and it was just like doing something totally different, beautiful, high quality imagery. Okay. And he grew a huge audience, but we were just talking about, instead of trying to grow 1 million followers, subscribers, start slow, stay slow, always talk like you're trying to build a small community, and know when enough is. Like, everybody just wants more and more and bigger and better, and it's like, why don't you just, don't kill yourself.
Which comes back to your roots.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's like, you always have to do that, I think. And like, how much is enough? Yeah. How much money is enough? How many clients is enough? And like, you can't have infinite amount, but you can always have more. Sure. So you're always trying to get more and more and fill every blank space in your day, and that's going to lead to burnout.
Yeah, it's nice to feel content.
Yeah, 100%. It's a daily practice.
Yeah.
You have to continually remind yourself that you don't need anything extra, and that what you have right now is enough. The dream for me was to make it as a freelancer, and I did that. And then the dream was to make it as an original content creator, and just to make a living, to pay your bills. Yeah. That's my dream. And so, like, as long as I can do that, then I'm living it.
There's billions of people in other countries wanting that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's enough for me. And as long as I continue to do that, and even if I can't do that, fuck it, I'll start shooting weddings again. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I would still be happy doing that. Or funerals. I heard there's a lot of funerals to be shot.
I mean, they don't stop, so weddings might stop.
That's true, yeah.
They'll get
taxes too, I guess that's always a business. That's always going to be around.
Okay, so that's well answered around that question of favorite podcast or learning. Where would you want to be 12 months looking back from now?
So in 12 years, not 12 months.
I don't know, 12 years?
12 months. Well, I'm really bad at answering those questions, because it's kind of crazy. If you look back 12 months when we first met, my life was totally different. I never could have imagined I would have been able to build an audience and make a living this quick doing what I'm doing. So I think I'm still making films, obviously. Like, filmmaking is going to be a part of what I do.
I wanted to know, was there a part 2 that we were talking about last time to minimalism?
Yeah, so I'm working on it with my friends Josh and Ryan.
What's happening?
Yeah, we're still in the middle of that project now, and we've got other ideas for potential series on the road. Yeah. I mean, with Maria Kondo coming out with her special, or her series, it's kind of opened the door a little bit more to conversations around minimalism and simple living. So there's always an opportunity to do that. But obviously, like, keeping up with my channel, continuing to make films, and I think I see a lot of YouTubers put themselves into a box and say, well, I'm only a YouTuber.
Sure.
You're a filmmaker. Sure. And then I'm like, well, like, you can be you look like a filmmaker to me. Right. It seems like you're making films. Like, just because the platform's YouTube doesn't mean that you have to devalue what you're creating. Yeah. So I think I want to continue to elevate my videos and get to the point where, where I think they're high quality now, but keep pushing it and make everything feel like it's a documentary that you're watching.
Yeah, cool.
So that's kind of the goal, is to continue to expand on that. Hopefully, eventually build out a little bit of a team, like one or two other filmmakers. Yeah. I'm going to be bringing on a filmmaker soon. So that's kind of the goal, just to continue to do what I'm doing now, elevate the quality, maybe do a little bit more, like either side films or side products that I could create.
Dude, awesome.
Yeah.
What would be, this one's from Jethro. Mm-hmm. If you had one camera for life, what would it be?
That's a terrible question. It's a tough question. Man, well, we were talking about it before the podcast about how, like, the Canon 5D really was like this huge game changer.
The one?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the one camera I would keep, because now you would obviously want to go with the highest quality. I think actually, it's hard to say, because you would probably want something. Man, that's a tough question.
One camera. I don't know if that entails like phone cameras and everything.
You can't just have one camera. I mean, that's funny, because like I just did a video on this called The Era of Upgrades, and about upgrading. And I think you could actually get really, really far with the current technology we have, and we could get years with it. And we upgrade because we can invest in new technology, and it's cool
because
to get,
we geek out on
we geeked out on the
Yeah.
gear. It's cool to
That's
get
cool.
120 frames per second. But I think any like legit camera, any camera that you're paying like more than a couple $1,000s on could last you a very, very long time, years and years.
Well,
so like currently I use like my Sony A7R II as my vlog camera and my C200 as my main film camera.
Yep.
And I'm sure that those would be just fine. What
one are you gonna pick?
Oh.
Is it gonna be one of those?
I mean, if I could keep the C200, I would probably just do that because I try to lean more towards the high production value stuff versus the vlog.
Yeah.
I do try to experiment and say like, hey, can I make this part vlog, part documentary, part YouTube video? Like, how can I bring all these together? But yeah, I guess if I could have, if I could have one camera, I would probably then get the Canon C300 Mark II. Like, might as well upgrade to something that's going to last you a lot longer time. That's got like better 4K, better specs on it.
Cool.
That took me a long time to get there.
Yeah, dude. I mean, technology's moving so fast. I remember being like, my whole childhood was on VHS from my dad, and it was one of those huge.
Yeah.
I don't even know what they are.
We had one of those.
But it was like 20 years. Like, not 20, 15 years before that tech really started to get down to the handy cams.
I think it's crazy the fact that the drones took so long too. And now drones are everywhere.
Right.
Helicopters have been around for a long ass time. How come they couldn't just make them smaller?
Sure.
I don't know. I was just thinking about that.
And toy helicopters have been around for a long ass time.
Yeah, like why didn't they just... I guess the camera technology wasn't small enough.
Yeah, maybe.
And just the quality of the cameras. I mean, if you think about it, the 5D, like you couldn't put that on a...
No.
And now the quality of drone cameras is way better than the 5D was.
We're talking about ideas that scientists are laughing at. Just going, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Dude, what does success mean to you to wrap this thing up? What is success?
Well, I think minimalism helped me the most in redefining success. So success for me used to be, I need to get the stuff, the house, the cars. I need to prove to everybody and to myself that I am successful. And it was all external stuff. And now success, it's more of an internal feeling. And it's a moving target because my life changes all the time.
Yeah, cool.
I want to be challenged with my work. I want my relationships to be fulfilling. I want to be feeling like there's, I'm giving and receiving to my relationships. I want to feel like my health is optimal. I'm eating the right foods. I feel energized throughout the day. I'm going to the gym. Like, there's so much to me that it takes to be successful, and it's balancing all these levers. And sometimes I screw it up. Sometimes I'm working a little bit too hard. But for me, it's about kind of always coming back and trying to create as much balance as I can in my life. And if I can do that, I feel successful.
Dude, I love that. Been cool journey along, man.
Cool,
it's
man.
Awesome having you on my show.
Yeah,
and,
dude.
Thank you for everything you did for me a year ago.
Oh, man.
I'm pumped to see what's next.
That's awesome, dude. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Brother, good stuff, man.
Hey, how cool was that? Did you enjoy that conversation? Please, as I mentioned at the start, go send Matt some love on Insta, YouTube, wherever, and just let him know and thank him for everything that he was sort of open to sharing there. Super cool. And hey, if you've got a creative freelance business or you're looking to enter that world, I'd love to hang out with you over the next 12 months and see if we can get you from where you are to freelancing full-time in the next 12 months. So come and join us. We've got a private Facebook group where the most valuable freelance conversations are happening on the planet, or the internet, some might say. Head over to Facebook and go to Create or Die Tribe. Okay, so just type that into the search bar. It'll come up, the Create or Die Tribe. Answer the 3 simple questions, and one of my team will accept you into the tribe, and I can't wait to welcome you. Look forward to seeing you in there and hanging out over the next 12 months. And apart from that, stay tuned for the next episode, and we'll speak very, very soon. This is Ryan Bowles signing out. Bye for now. Damn, I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I had making it. And you know that friend that popped into mind while listening along? Why not shoot them the link and send them some love so we can help people grow in their personal and business lives together. And hey, if you'd like to connect with me personally and find out if or how I can help you in your business, jump over to icreateordie.com and let's connect today. Until next time, this is Ryan Bowles. Go well and bye for now.